Alright guys, back here for part 2 of the rivet decal tutorial. This one here is basically going to be for the guys that are going to paint with a spray can and in their primer and their paint process. I have a hood sitting here. It's a Western Star hood. Now this has actually been painted. It was the only thing I found in the parts box. I don't have anything in primer right now and didn't want to primer one up, but just kind of look at this and pretend like it's gray primer. It's basically the same thing. This actually was sprayed with a can. This, I think, was one of my earlier experiments with Duplicolor when I used to use cans. So this hood's been around for a while because I use airbrush on 99% of everything that I do now. But just, you know, figure this being gray primer or white primer or whatever primer you're using. And same procedure that we did in the first video. I would say go ahead and get your body work straightened out, you know, as good as you can, and, you know, up to the point of where you're happy with it. And then you want to spray everything down with a coat of primer and, you know, do your sanding or whatever you have to do, but try to get the you know, cab, the hood, and the sleeper, you know, all of your body work, try to get it as close to being ready for paint and looking good as you can. And then once you have that, you will know that primer is going to have a dull surface to it. So, you know, it's the same thing. The Tamiya compound, this is the same procedure we did on the first one, and you want to come in right over top of your primer that you have down. And like I say, we're just going to pretend like this is primer on this hood, and just come in and buff the primer. Now you don't want to buff it all over the place. Try to keep it pretty much right where you want to put your rivet decal. Like in this case, I'm going to do it right down through the center of the hood. So, you know, you don't want to smear this stuff all over the place because you really don't need to. So just try to keep it right where your decals are going to go, or, you know, in that general neighborhood. So we just buff that off, and, you know, that's what we have. Now that, you know, on the paint it's going to be shinier, but on your primer it will give it a sheen. It won't be super shiny, but it will give it a sheen, and it'll give it a good surface for the decal to go down on. I've already cut out another row of the rivets. I'm going to drop them over here in the water. And I've got the hood that we did first. It's sitting over here drying up. This is what it looks like right now. You can see that the rivets look pretty decent on it. So that's probably got about another, I'd say I'd give it about 8 more hours to dry up and get all the, you know, solvents out from underneath the decal before I do anything to that. Let's see if our decal's ready here in the water yet. Check it here first. A lot of these will release pretty quick, and then other times you've actually got to sit there and wait on them for a while. Yeah, this one's just about ready. So same procedure that we did on the kit plastic. You just want to come in with a little bit of your micro set. And this company, Microscale, does make a product called Micro Saw. When you have a decal this narrow, I do not recommend Micro Saw on it unless you absolutely have to use it. Micro Saw is a little bit more aggressive, and it tends to want to really wrinkle the decal up. Unless you have a lot of experience with decals, it can pretty much be a bad thing for you when that thing starts to wrinkle up. So I stick with the micro set. It works well for, you know, the majority of stuff that I do. So alright, so we have the micro set down on the surface, and now all we're going to do is just slide the rivet decals down the center here. And this probably won't show up at all from this distance on the camera, but this will give you an idea of just how, you know, how to put these things on. And like I say, you got to be very careful with, you know, do you have it centered, do you have them straight? You know, that's things that a lot of people overlook, but that's what makes a good model, is that little bit of attention to detail. You know, if you see a weave in your decal, don't just let it go. Go back over it. You know, take the time to go back over it at this stage and get it right. I mean, because once you seal this down, it is what it is, and there is no changing it after that. So, you know, that's where you need the patience and you need that attention to detail mentality to, you know, produce a good model and make it come out clean. Got that looking pretty good. I'll hold it up here and see if we can get this to focus. There's the rivets down through the center, and if you look closely, about right there in the middle, you can see just the very edge of the carrier film. The micro set will help pull that down, especially going over top of primer. It will pull it down into the primer pretty good. So same thing, just another little brush of micro set across the top of the decal. And you have to be careful with them because they will move around. When I got to the back edge of that one, it moved backward a little bit on me. So, you know, but that's no big deal at that point. You can go in and just kind of bump it a little bit, move it where you want it, and then, like I say, leave it alone at that point. Because once this starts to take effect on it, if you try to move this decal, it will tear it or wrinkle it or whatever. But most of the time, it's usually take it back off. Once you've done that, you got to take it back off, throw it away. So, but now the reason that I say this procedure here is for the guys using the cans is we all know that cans put down a pretty good amount of paint no matter how light you are with the trigger, and that is especially true with primers because primers are a high build formula, and you know, that's why they're a primer. They're made to cover up flaws and fill in low spots. So if you put this rivet decal on top of your primer, you've already got your heavy stage out of the way. After this would dry and everything's good to go, then you would proceed with your color coat, whatever you're going to spray, whatever color it's going to be. These decals will accept enamels, lacquers, acrylics, just about anything, so don't worry about that. I don't know about the real strong lacquer automotive type paints. I know they will accept House of Color. I've sprayed it over top of them before and they're fine. So, but one of the reasons that I do recommend that procedure is, you know, now when you get ready to paint this and you paint over top of your decal, you're using the paint itself because it comes out of the cans pretty heavy. And like I say, even though you're putting down light coats of it, I mean, it's still, spray can paint is going to build up, and it builds up way heavier than an airbrush will. But that little bit of build up thickness will help hide some of your decal edge also. Not going to hide it totally without a lot of practice, but you know, for the most part, you're cutting it real close to the rivet, so you're going to hide a lot of it that way. And then, of course, if you go in with a clear coat, that's going to help hide it even more. Now, something to show you what I would do on this with a clear coat is, once I had the clear coat down, I would take my piece of sandpaper, usually about 2,000 grits where I start, and I would come in real close to the edge of those rivets and just lightly go back and forth, and that'll help knock the clear down that creates the step right at the edge of the decal paper. You know, and then once you buff that out a little bit, it should look pretty decent for you. But I think that should just about cover it on the application of these rivet decals. That gives you two different ways to do it. There is other ways out there, but these are the two that work for me. And you know, give it a try and give Micro Mart and Archer a try on their rivets, and promote those guys. They gave us a good product, so definitely support them. So hopefully that answers your questions on how to do these things, and if not, just leave me a question or a comment on the video, and I'll be more than glad to answer any questions or concerns you have. So I'm going to leave you with that today. I thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later.